In today's video, we are presenting part 1 of our O'Hara Mill Homestead video, which will be a tour of the buildings located here, as well as a few demonstrations and a wagon ride. We'll provide you with some background history of the property and its inhabitants, and show you some tools and artifacts of the time. In part 2, we're going to be hitting the trails to show you the hiking available on the property. So let's get started. There are 2 parking areas at the property, and we use the second lot on the west side. Walking along the trail by the mill pond, you'll enjoy some beautiful forest and water scenery. There's a covered picnic area located near the parking lot and entry to some hiking trails, but more of that in part 2 of this video series. At the edge of the parking lot, you'll find a map of the building locations on the property, as well as information about upcoming events. Grab a walking stick if you want and get going. There's no entry fee to the property, but donations are gladly accepted and encouraged. The first thing you will encounter entering through this way is the covered bridge. This bridge was built in 2012 by a group of volunteers and is a beautiful entryway to the property. The financing and construction of the bridge was made possible by many community volunteers, government and private funding, and businesses providing labor, equipment, and materials. A true community effort. From the covered bridge, you will get the first view of the sawmill. We were lucky enough to see the mill in operation.
It runs off that.
Wow.
Except for the reverse it runs by itself.
Yeah. Wow.
Here's the side goes up and down and scratches that wheel over there, and that's what the carriage is.
That little thing right there is driving the wheel.
That's pretty clever, isn't it? It is. Wow.
It's more 1850 it was here. Put here.
So was they just doing wood cutting here?
I would presume so, but they would have drove faster than we're driving.
Yeah.
The sawmill was originally built in 1850 by James O'Hara Sr. and still located on its original site. Water powers the saw blade as well as the log carriage moving forward toward the moving blade. This mill is the only one working in North America. Quite impressive for our small community. Next up is the log cabin. While the cabin's not the original one, it is typical of the size and style of a pioneer log house built in the early to mid 1800s. The house was dismantled by volunteers on a farm near Bancroft and rebuilt on the site of the original O'Hara log home. The home houses many artifacts and crafts from the period, as well as a massive fireplace. Next to the log cabin is the sugar shack for production of maple syrup. In the spring, you can experience it firsthand as volunteers boil sap collected from the maple trees just as the O'Haras would have. We were lucky to catch a demonstration of a rope-making machine in action. After the 3 ropes were twisted, they would be braided into an extremely strong rope. Right on. There's a visitor center on the property which houses a collection of artifacts and photo albums. You can catch a summer student tour here in peak season. There are also handicapped accessible washrooms located here as well as souvenirs available for purchase. Next up is the Carriage House. In the time period, the horses would have been kept in the bottom and the carriages in the top. Today, there are a number of carriages and cutters on display on the bottom level. On the upper level, you can see the crankcase oil stains in the floor, indicating at some point the O'Hara family had owned a horseless buggy. The upstairs level houses a variety of tools and implements that would have been used on homesteads in the middle to late 1800s.
And then, right, you take it, and then it would sharpen your blades.
Yep.
The young man volunteering here was a wealth of knowledge on the history of the time. It was very refreshing to see such interest from our youth. Good job.
Look around. Now, we don't know much about this place, other than the person using it was right-handed. Or about for this item.
Yeah.
Because of all these marks on this side.
Yeah.
Next stop is the Blacksmith Shop.
So this is how they would have done it back in the day.
Yep.
What are you doing there?
So this is a blower. So it's forcing
Okay.
air into the fire
Gotcha.
because the air helps it burn
Yep.
faster.
Yep.
So the bellows that are on the wall there would probably have been used originally. And then in the 1800s they started manufacturing the blowers.
Okay. The blacksmith was a vital part of any community, as many things used by pioneers were made from metal. From nails and hinges to axe heads and horseshoes, everything was made by hand with forge, bellows, anvil, tongs, and hammer. Next up, we are visiting the school, which was built in 1861 and was donated by a nearby township in the 60s. The O'Haras promoted the establishment of the first school in the township, and their children attended the O'Hara School, SS number 2, located just down the road. The school houses many displays from a typical school in the 1800s. We next saw a very impressive piece of equipment that was drawn by horses, and that was a stone puller. This machine was used to move large rocks as the settlers cleared the land. Using a team of horses, the rocks could be lifted and stacked along the fence lines. This machine is humongous. Fly nets were used to keep flies from landing on the horses. This machine is housed in one of 3 drive sheds located on the property. Another drive shed houses many agricultural tools and machines. Many of these items have been donated by local and out of the county farmers. The collection is very impressive. The third drive shed has become an active workshop for volunteers as well as storage of homestead equipment. O'Hara Mills often offers horse and wagon rides, and we were lucky enough to be there on one of those days.
So these are draft horses.
Oh, there. No, it's small.
They're ponies.
Yeah, they're little.
Here's a junior.
So what are these horses called?
They're hop slingers. Hop slingers?
Okay.
They're a breed of their own.
Oh, okay.
They've been,
They look really strong.
well, they are.
Yeah.
Well, I use these at Christine and cook the whole day.
Do ya?
How old are they?
Hey?
How old are they?
The one on this side, 14 and a half.
Yeah.
And this one, 16.
So is that considered middle age or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got a horse, a pony at home. She's 32. And she's still going good. So her numbers, I get and thing I should say, I do sleigh rides here. They've got we can make the syrup here. And come up and
Allergy to horses, yeah. Oh, wow.
It's I do 5 events for them. And normally this is a lot bigger. And I've been doing it for a long time, logging. In this area around here, I'm the only horse guy who does horses.
So they ask you, you quote them a price for how long it's gonna
I
take.
usually charge the people, I give them a third of what I make.
Yeah.
So when I take all the logs to the mill, if it brings $3,000, they get a third of it.
Nice.
And
I like that system.
Yeah.
The old system.
A lot of people want the horses and not the skidder.
Our driver was really interesting and obviously loves his teams of horses. This was one of the highlights of our day. The Livestock Barn is a modest reproduction of what a general livestock barn would have been like in the 1800s. Inside you'll find a granary, big pen, and hen house, as well as stalls for housing larger livestock such as horses and cows. The grounds include a large garden, such as would have been grown by the original inhabitants. As well, the yard close to the main house grows various herbs and flowers. The O'Hara Museum House was inhabited only by the O'Hara family over a period of 115 years. Many of the original artifacts are still in the house. The family home is one of the original buildings on the property. Originally built in 1848, it was a 2 or 3 room house, and it was expanded over the years as the family's needs grew. The interior features wood floors, plaster walls and ceilings, wood trim around the doors and windows, and features a metal decorative ceiling in the dining room and wood paneling in the summer kitchen. This home truly depicts the evolution of pioneer life from 1847 to 1935, as it's a composite of different periods comprising additions, interior alterations, and continued improvement. The home currently consists of a summer kitchen, a winter kitchen, dining room, boys' room, girls' room, parlor, and master bedroom. The original woodshed is now used as the retail store. It would have been used for tools and wood storage. Milk waiting to go from the farm to the cheese factory was stored here in the milk stand. The O'Haras played an important role in the local cheese industry and shipped their milk to the Spring Hill Cheese Factory located on the corner of Mill Road and in O'Hara Road. The Carpenters Shop is another original building. It was first used as a woodshed before it was converted to the Carpenter Shop. Ben Lear, James O'Hara's brother-in-law, was a talented carpenter and built much of the family furnishings, including a variety of pieces still on display in the museum house. Inside, you'll find many carpenter tools as well as equipment for making shoes, barrels, and other household necessities. Taking the beautiful trail back to the parking lot has inspired me to come back to visit the O'Hara Mill Conservation Area to check out the hiking trails here. In my next video, I'll be sharing that hike with you. We really enjoyed our visit to the O'Hara Mill Homestead, and I highly recommend it. Check out the website below to see the opening hours, events, and available tours, as sometimes the buildings are not open to the public. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.